Welcome back to Giants Mania. Today we have another video about free agency. Last time I did a video about my wish list and what I wanted them to do as a fan. This video is more of just trying to actually predict what I think the Giants will do in free agency, kind of trying to put myself in Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge's brain and trying to just figure out what they're going to do. So I'll probably get most of these wrong, but still it's fun to kind of speculate about it. So I'm sure most of you know by now, but earlier today, the Giants apparently reworked a contract with Nate Solder, and apparently he'll be back next year. There's no details yet about how much he'll earn, how much he'll make, so I'll make a video about it once those numbers come out. My initial reaction was I'm not too thrilled about it because I would prefer Cam Fleming, who's probably just as good and a cheaper option. But, the Nate Solder contract was not a favorable one to have him cut. There's a lot of dead money, so I do understand it from that perspective, but I won't overreact yet. I want to see the numbers first, then I'll make a video about that in the future. But hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Leave in the comments, what do you think the Giants will do in free agency, and let's get into it. So before we even get into the player names and all that, I want to go over the cap space situation first. So according to Over the Cap, the Giants have just over $2 million in cap space, which obviously is not a lot. But if they rework Nate Solder, they possibly could get it up to hopefully maybe around $10 million if, that's possible. But once again, I'm not sure about Nate Solder's numbers yet. But there's ways that teams move around cap space, whether it's put the money towards signing bonuses or just push the money down over future years and all that. So I don't exactly know what they're going to do, but, I'm trying to be modest with these signings. I don't have a bunch of big contracts here, of course, so I'll try to be modest with these expectations here. So the first one is Curtis Samuel. So Curtis Samuel is a wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, a former Dave Gettleman pick when he was the GM in Carolina, a second-round pick in 2017. And Samuel had a somewhat of a breakout year in 2020. I feel like some of that had to do with the new regime of Joe Breida and Matt Rule, and some of that had to do with the injury to Christian McCaffrey, because this year he had 41 rushing attempts for 200 yards, which was 4.9 yards per carry, by the way, but that was the most he's had in his career. The previous year he had 19, then it was 8, then it was 4, so his rushing attempts have gone up every year. And I feel like that helped him get paid in a way, because now he's had over 1,000 scrimmage yards. He had 1,051 scrimmage yards last year, 851 receiving yards. And Samuel, for the first time in his career last year, played more in the slot than the outside. His first 3 years in the NFL, the Panthers put him out wide more, and he's only, 5'11", 195. So he's not the biggest guy. They put him more outside than in the slot. I'm not sure why they did that, but this past year they did it. Put up his best year, 77 catches, 851 yards, only 3 touchdowns, but I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns as well, so 5 total. So while he's not Kenny Golladay, he's not Juju, he's not Will Fuller, I still think that Curtis Samuel is a pretty solid receiver. He's definitely going to help. He knows how to make guys miss. He's very good at making guys miss in the open field. He's been just very good at that over his career. Pretty reliable hands, a pretty good route runner, creates separation. So, I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't give him too big of a contract. I think he'll earn somewhere from $8 to $10 million per year. And if the Giants can afford it, and the Giants, of course, need weapons at wide receiver, I can see them going this route with Curtis Samuel. Next, we have Malcolm Butler, who I talked about in my last video. He's on my wish list. I would be fine with Malcolm Butler as a cornerback too. Opposite of James Bradberry, you have Bradberry, you have Darnay Holmes in the slot, and then Malcolm Butler on the other side. So I feel like that would be a pretty good cornerback group right there. But Butler now is 31 years old, just turned 31, which, yes, is a pretty high age for a guy who plays cornerback. I get that, but he is coming off one of his better seasons in a long time. I feel like this is his best season in about 3 or 4 years. He had 100 tackles this year, 4 interceptions. He had a very solid year. And I talked about last video about Tennessee and their defensive scheme. They played a lot of zone. Patrick Graham plays a lot of zone. He kept a lot of things in front of him. And Malcolm Butler has good instincts. You remember the Super Bowl play, of course, but he has good instincts. He's a guy that I feel like can thrive in this defense. And although he's a bit older, it might be a cheap 1-year deal, maybe 2-year deal, but it won't cost as much as a William Jackson or some of those other high-end cornerback targets out there. So I feel like Malcolm Butler would be a good fit because, as I said, he played under Joe Judge. He's played with Logan Ryan in Tennessee and New England. So there are some connections there, and the Giants have a need for an outside corner. So I feel like that would make sense. Next, we have right guard Trey Turner, another former Dave Gettleman pick. Part of the reason I put it on here, but it also fits a team need because, as we know, the Giants moved on from Kevin Zeitler recently. And Turner's only 27 years old. Now, he's coming off his worst year in the NFL. I'll try to make some excuses here. He had a knee injury in week 1, missed week 1. Came back in week 2, had a groin injury. So he missed the next 5 or 6 games, I believe. I think it was 5. Then came back and had his worst season of his career by far. So It's hard to believe that someone at 27 completely fell off a cliff. I think the injuries played a part for sure, but how good is Trey Turner currently when he's healthy? That's the big question. And I don't think he'll cost a lot of money. I can see the Giants getting him on a pretty team-friendly deal because right now the Giants do have Will Hernandez, they do have Shane Lemieux, but can you really trust those guys going into a season? Lemieux being a 5th-round year 2 player, Hernandez was basically benched the second half of the year. Can you trust those guys to be your opening day guards? I don't know if that makes sense. So the Giants probably will add a guard some way, whether it's free agency or the draft. I could see Trey Turner making sense. And Turner from 2015 to 2019 made 5 straight Pro Bowls. He kind of fell off in 19, but I guess based on his reputation, he made it. Then in 2020, as I said, had the injuries and just played like absolute garbage in his one season with the Chargers. And the Chargers recently released him. They saved like $11 million or something like that. So he's now out there. I don't think he'll cost a ton. There is the GM connection with Gettleman. The Giants need a right guard. I could see Trey Turner going to the Giants on like a 1-year prove-it deal. Next, we have Malcolm Brown. So there's 2 Malcolms on this list. I actually almost put another Malcolm Brown. There's a Malcolm Brown, a running back for the Rams. So I almost had 3 Malcolms on here and 2 Malcolm Browns. That would have been funny. But Malcolm Brown for the Saints, or former Saint player now, is 6'2", 320. He has played some nose tackle before. So back in 2017, I believe, when he was part of the Patriots organization, he did play some nose tackle. He mostly played in a 4-3 with the Saints, so he hasn't been like an official nose tackle, and he played some defensive end in the Patriots 3-4, but he has nose tackle experience, and he's a very solid player. Like, he played in basically over 13 games every year of his career. He's not as good as Dalvin Tomlinson. I get that. I'll admit that right now, but he'll probably cost half as much as Dalvin Tomlinson, and he'll probably give the Giants 85 to 90% of what Dalvin Tomlinson was giving them. So when you factor that in and the fact that it's a nose tackle, a position that doesn't really impact the game all that much, you just need a big guy in there who stuffs A-gaps and can stop the run. That's what you need. And Malcolm Brown, his highest sack total in a season was 3. He had 3, 3, 2.5, 0, 2, and 1. So he doesn't sack too many guys, but neither does Dalvin Tomlinson. So we're not missing out on too much right there. I feel like Malcolm Brown can give you somewhat of what Dalvin Tomlinson was giving you, and it'll cost half the price. So he has the Joe Judge connection, played in New England from 2015 to 2018. He's been on good teams, New England and New Orleans. That hopefully brings a winning mentality here. He's probably a smart player. I went back and watched some of him. He's got pretty good agility, pretty strong. So I feel like he's not the worst option in the world. He's still just, how old is he? I think he's 27 years old. So I feel like the Giants, this would make sense for them, but we'll find out what they do at nose tackle, because I honestly feel like they won't be able to afford Dalvin Tomlinson. I think he will be gone, unfortunately. So next we have Alex Smith. And Alex Smith's coming off the Comeback Player of the Year award. He's now 36 years old, and he apparently admitted he wants to play in 2021, which I found a bit surprising. He basically came back and proved everything he needed to, but he wants to continue playing. He was released by Washington, rightfully so, based on the amount of money he was making. But he's now out there, and I think this one makes sense for the Giants. He's an upgrade over Colt McCoy, another former Washington quarterback, but I think it makes sense because he would be a good mentor for Daniel Jones. And if you've been following me for a while, on draft night I made the comparison of Alex Smith and Daniel Jones. And some people hate it, but I see a lot of Alex Smith in Daniel Jones. And I feel like having Alex Smith come in here, you know he's the backup. There's no controversy. He's now 36 years old. He's coming off a serious injury. As we know, he's for sure the backup. But in the event that Daniel Jones misses a few games, which he has missed. He's missed 2 games his rookie year. I think he missed about 2 games total when you add them up basically this past year. Alex Smith can come in there and win you football games. Like, his quarterback record last year was 5-1. It was 6-4 in 2018, 9-6, 11-4, 11-5. This guy is a winner. He's not the best quarterback there is, but he's a winner. He knows how to be a really good game manager. And last year he did have a negative touchdown to interception ratio. It was 6 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, which is very unlike Alex Smith, but he could have been pressing. He has not played football in basically a full year at that point, a year and a half basically, and he was coming off a gruesome injury. It was very scary. So if this guy wants to play, I think the Giants can get him on a very team-friendly deal. I think it makes a lot of sense. He would be a good mentor for Daniel Jones once again. So I feel like it would make sense for the Giants there. And I looked at the other quarterback options at backup. Guys like Tyrod Taylor, Jacoby Brissett would probably cost too much for the Giants. And there are some other guys out there, but I just feel like Alex Smith kind of just fits what the Giants need. Just a game manager, don't lose you the game, and just knows how to win football games. Like, I kind of like that for the Giants. And lastly, we have Matt Breida, a running back formerly of the 49ers, played for the Dolphins last year. He's a bit of a smaller guy. He's 5'10", only 190. But the thing I like about Breida is you now have Saquon Barkley, who hopefully is healthy next year and hopefully does play all 16 games. But when Saquon has to come off the field for just being tired, you can put Matt Breida in there and still keep another home run threat at running back, which I think is awesome to have because Matt Breida has been clocked as one of the fastest players in the NFL. So this is since 2018, the fastest ball carriers. Matt Breida was number one, 22.3 miles per hour. Then it was Cordero Patterson in 2019. And then Matt Breida at 22.09 miles per hour. So I feel like Tyreek Hill might have broke that this past year, but point is Matt Breida is very freaking fast and he's fun. So I mean, he's not going to be an every down back. It's not what he is. The most carries he's ever had in a season, I believe, was only 153. So he has not rushed the ball a lot. He was in a backfield that had a lot of other names like Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman and Jerick McKinnon, all those guys, Kyle Juszczyk with the 49ers. Then he went to the Dolphins, and Myles Gaskin, I think, was undrafted maybe, or 7th rounder, came out of nowhere, took a lot of the snaps there. They traded for DeAndre Washington. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities last season for him, unfortunately. He had 59 carries throughout the whole year. He had COVID, missed some time with that. But he did have 4.3 yards per carry behind a pretty bad Dolphins offensive line. So that was pretty nice to see. But in his time with the Niners, he had, 5.3 yards per carry, 5.1, 4.4. So he's been an efficient running back. He did have the benefit of a great running back system with the 49ers. I get that. But the fact that this guy's a home run threat, he's a good receiver, which I like as well. He can take screens, 30, 40 yards. I like that about him. So, look, he's not Saquon Barkley level. I get that. And if Barkley were to miss time, I don't think Matt Breida can be the only guy back there. You have to have another guy next to him. But assuming Saquon's healthy, you can put Breida in there sometimes, and I feel like you could still keep that home run threat on the field, which is definitely a big thing. You like to have fast guys on the field and give Daniel Jones more weapons once again. So, that'll do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, leave in the comments your realistic Giants offseason or free agency expectations. People have asked me about the draft. I still have to do my draft research. I like to just watch everybody, or not everybody, but most guys, and get everything in my head. And, I don't want to come out here and just look at stats and look at guys' heights and weights like anyone can do that. So I want to just actually formulate an opinion on these guys. And I promise back, when April comes around, mid-April, late April, I'll have more draft content out for you guys. A couple of mock drafts probably. I'll do another similar thing of like my preference of a mock draft and what I actually think the Giants might do. So I'll do stuff like that. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.